What's keeping you up at night? Hello and welcome to the Bedtime Edit Podcast. I'm your host, Alanna McGinn. And here's the thing. If our children aren't sleeping well, then neither are we. And being a mom of 3 teens myself, I understand struggles that could present themselves when dealing with teen issues during midlife. So today's episode is going to be focused on teen sleep and how to help our teens sleep better. And stay tuned to the end, where I share how a past Facebook post in my community group really pissed me off and what I shared with them. So are you ready for some big revelations when it comes to teens and their sleep? In this episode, I'm breaking down what affects teen sleep and what you can do about it. But first, I want to start by saying that parents should approach teen sleep just as you may have approached sleep when your kid was a baby or a toddler. Even as a teen, there are biological factors at play influencing sleep. And yes, your teen may need help learning how to self-soothe before bed and even know how to build good sleep habits. I want to say this up front. One of the biggest barriers to helping teens get the sleep they need is often us, the parents. Remember, I have 3 teens and I get this. We know that it can be frustrating to try and drag your teen out of bed for school, but I really do believe that when you take the time to learn more about teens and sleep, both you and the teenagers living in your house will be that much happier. The National Sleep Foundation recommends the following sleep durations for the following ages. So school-age children, ages 6 to 13, you're looking at an average sleep time of 9 to 11 hours per night. For teenagers, 14 to 17 years old, you're looking at an average sleep time of 8 to 10 hours at night. So teens still need a lot more sleep than perhaps we adults do. So first, let's understand your child's sleep needs. Here's what the parents need to know. There is a change in hormones and their biological clock. So the average age of puberty for girls is between 10 and 12 years of age, and boys is between 12 and 16 years of age. So during this age group, there's a shift in their natural sleep rhythms, their circadian rhythms. Melatonin, that's our sleep hormone, that's secreted later at night. This hormone is what signals to the body that it's time to go to sleep. So while this may not happen as early as 8 years of age, when the shift does take place, it can be biologically impossible for our tweens and teens to fall asleep at an earlier bedtime, even if we want them to, and even if they themselves want to. I think it's also important we mention melatonin to address melatonin in this episode. I want to make sure that this is clear. Very rarely do children or teens have a melatonin deficiency. Doesn't mean that melatonin doesn't have a place, but this means that if they're having trouble sleeping, it's not because they need more melatonin. So before you give your teen melatonin, you need to be aware of the following. Melatonin is not an herb or a mineral. It's a hormone. At high doses, it's a contraceptive. So you need to ask yourself, is this really something that you want to give your teenage daughter or son to ingest? Melatonin is not a sleep initiator. We have to stop looking at it as a sleeping pill. It's a sleep regulator. So it doesn't work to make your child or yourself sleepy. Likely the dosage that you're giving your teen or yourself is going to be incorrect. And it's not accurately known what the best dosage is for kids and teens in that age group. So definitely something to keep in mind. A common question that I get from parents with their teens is napping okay? And as parents, we need to pick our battles with our teens. So in some cases, if your teen naps, they may have trouble falling asleep at night if they sleep too much during the day. But in most cases, it's okay for teens to sleep after school. I know mine sometimes do. So most will still be able to go to bed at a reasonable hour. I don't think it's anything you need to worry about. Remember, teens need a lot of sleep, and a nap can make them more agreeable to deal with homework, to deal with chores. Hallelujah. So a nap isn't necessarily a for sure no. Everyone has their own sleep needs. What I love about this podcast is that I can reach out to you and I can answer any sleep questions that you DM me. And I put out a call out for teen sleep questions, and Healthy Balance with Melissa asked me, I need a decent sleep time and a routine. My teen stays up super late and can't get up in the morning. We need to understand that this is the age where activities and sports and homework, all of those things increase, right? And bedtimes begin to be pushed out too late. And overscheduling leaves our children overtired and exhausted, and it makes it even more difficult for them to fall asleep. So as your child gets older, the focus on a bedtime routine kind of falls away because you're no longer that active participant in getting them ready for bed like you were when they were little. And over time, the intentional and purposeful bedtime routine gets dropped, right? So we need to help them reinstate what I call a slow down cycle to help them power down at bed. So how a slow down cycle works is this is an hour before bedtime. You're going to ask your teen to give this a try, okay? Break up that hour in 3 20-minute increments. The first 20 minutes, they're going to get organized for the next day. So things like making sure that their homework is done. I got 2 teenage girls. They have to pick out their outfits for the entire week. So making sure that all of those things are done in that first 20 minutes. The next 20 minutes is self-care, right? Again, I say I have 2 teenage daughters, but this also applies to my teenage son. The face washing and the creams. And I mean, I swear they use more creams than I do, and the showers before bed and all of those things, right? So it's that actual hygiene part of their bedtime routine. And then the last 20 minutes is incorporating any kind of calming or relaxing activity that they want to do. So maybe it's reading, maybe it's doing some mindful breathing or mindful work. There's great apps that can work really well to help get them prepared for bed. So reintroducing a bedtime routine is super important. And incorporating that into a slowdown hour is easy for your teen to understand the steps they need to take to get their body and mind ready for bed. Now we have to talk about screen time. And I know this one is a doozy, right, parents? So we have to look at the use of screen time and what it does in terms of stimulation and cortisol production. This is our stress hormone, right? So screens can make teens feel excited, stressed, anxious, sad, all of the emotions. But they get stuck in this technology trap and they feel the need to be connected before they go to sleep, which then pushes back their bedtime way too late. It overstimulates their mind and it overstimulates their body. And then when they don't feel great in the morning, guess what the first thing is that they're reaching for? Their phone, right? Or their device. And that screen stimulation. So their brain is exhausted and their mental state is exhausted, and it needs that boost of technology to perk them back up. So this is what's called kind of that rebound effect, which leads to a vicious sleep deprived cycle, which is what we want to avoid. So as parents, we need to monitor what they are absorbing right before they go to bed. But we also need to be mindful of the blue light and the bright screens that are right in front of their faces before they go to sleep. And again, parents, this also applies to you. So reaction to blue light emitted from the screens essentially works to turn off the release of melatonin. Now, they struggle with that release as is. So we don't want to turn that sleep switch off in the brain. Think about that for a minute. When your teen is on a screen before they go to bed, it's actually telling their body that it's not time to sleep at all. While we'll talk more about reducing screens before bed a bit later, here's what you can do to help in regards to blue light. So if your child hasn't brought a device into the bedroom, keep devices out of the bedroom. Start there. That's a great start to have. Create kind of a area in your house that you can plug in overnight. So this is a top priority for protecting your teen's sleep. Talk to your teen about the difference in screen time consumption versus creating. This is something that I've actually done with my kids. So try and move them away from just sitting and consuming screen time, which we're all guilty of doing, right? They can actually use it to learn or master something like editing photos, coding, creative writing, using different mindful apps, audiobooks, or even my teenage son is starting to do online workouts, which is great. So it's another way of using their devices than just consumption. But have that open conversation about technology limits, right? Teenage girls in particular often report feeling relieved when limits are enforced. So they have that out when it comes to keeping up with the late night texts or social media engagement. the reduction in anxiety and in sleep distractions can make a huge change in how well your teen is sleeping. So look into using an app or a router that can set limits or curfews. I have a lot of clients who do this by turning off the Wi-Fi at a certain time, again, setting those boundaries for our kids. Many of our devices also offer functions and apps to reduce the brightness and the blue light on their laptop or their phone. So you can also use things like blue light blocking glasses, get your teen to start wearing them from about 8 p.m. and onwards, especially if they're doing homework at night. I know that that's hard. And incorporate proper lighting throughout your home, like lighting that filters out blue light at bedtime and ones that emit more blue light in, say, your bathroom in the morning to help your teen wake up better. Setting those boundaries as soon as you can in regards to technology, doing it as a family can be huge, right? And one of the first steps towards healthier sleep for any individual is starting to promote proper sleep hygiene. So here's some quick takeaways, right? We want to practice consistent sleep patterns with your child. We want to incorporate calming bedtime routines. Remember, we talked about that slow down hour. Try to avoid a lot of exercise for 1 to 2 hours before they go to bed, which I know that sometimes can be hard. Again, I have a teenage son. And also watch what they eat before they go to bed, right? We want to make sure that they're avoiding that caffeine, and then focus on their environment. Listen, my daughter's room, don't let me even get into it. We need to clear that clutter. If they are going to sleep in chaos, it's not going to promote a great night of sleep. So maybe doing a room decluttering, a room cleanup, and then incorporating some great relaxation techniques to calm their body and mind down. One great thing that I did with my daughters when they were growing up is I incorporated a shared journal with them. So this is how it works. In the journal, your child is able to write down any worries or any concerns that they want you to know about, and they know that you are going to read this journal. It's shared between the two of you. Sometimes it's hard for our teens to tell us what's going on in their life or admit their fears out loud, but they want us to know about it. So this shared journal allows that bridge of communication between you and your child. Now, while I encourage you to stay away from brightly lit tech, stories on tape can work really well for this age group. Audiobooks, any kind of mindful meditation apps too. Ones that they really kind of take to and want to listen to at bedtime can be a really great way for them to relax before bedtime. So think of like mindfulness, yoga, breathing techniques. This is going to help relax their body, quiet their minds, which is hard to do, making it easier for your child to fall asleep. Or think about like repeating positive sleep mantras like, I can fall asleep on my own. I'm a great sleeper. Sleep is good for me. We might have to encourage them to repeat these mantras at bedtime, but it can be a really great way to kind of change bedtime from negative to positive for your teen. Now, I'm all for a family meeting, right? A family sleep meeting. This is where you're going to sit down with your child and go through what your sleep goals are together as a family and work towards them. But, and it's a big but, it is really important to monitor parental involvement, okay? You need to try and take a step back, look at the situation. Is your involvement in your teen's sleep too much? Are you the last obstacle standing in the way of your child sleeping soundly at night, right? And if so, trust me, you are not alone, but putting a consistent plan in place can help you all sleep better at night. Okay. Are you ready for the Facebook drama? I want to talk about the topic of starting high school later, okay? And the big question is, in doing so, for removing that high school time later, are we setting up our kids for failure? And I'm going to have a huge eye roll here, okay? So there was a time in my community's public school board where they had announced that they will be looking into the possibility of changing the time of high school, the high school bus pickups, and pushing that out later to allow the students a chance to sleep in the morning, right? Works better with their natural sleep rhythms. I'm all for it. So we know today's teenagers aren't getting the right amount of sleep, and making this change will provide them a better chance of learning, amongst other benefits, right? This announcement created quite a buzz within our online community, with some parents for the change, but a lot of parents, and shockingly enough, against it. And this is what kind of opened my eyes to the topic. So parents opposed to the change of the times, they were concerned of how it will affect the children's extracurricular activities and after-school jobs. Fair enough, right? Some were worried about the traffic and the congestion increasing in the morning with the school drop-offs within the community with the elementary schools, right? Again, fair enough. While others voiced that more buses would be an added expense that the community boards couldn't afford. I completely understand that. But this is where I might have gone off a little bit, right? Many claimed that getting up early is a reality of life, one that teens need to accept, and pushing the school time later won't teach them proper work ethics and set them up to fail in the real world. So, initiatives to start school later for teens, they have been gaining steam in the US and now also in Canada. And these organizations' missions consisting of sleep specialists and health professionals and educators and parents and even students is to educate on why this change is necessary and provide resources and support and guidance to school boards and communities who are working towards the same goal. So organizations like the American Academy of Pediatrics, an organization of 62,000 pediatricians, are on a lot of these organizations' side. We have to give note to that, right? More sleep for our teen means better cognitive ability with increased learning and memory, but making this change is not just about increasing our teens' grades. Lack of sleep in teenagers are now gaining more recognition as we are finding that chronic sleep deprivation at this age can have serious ramifications. While not a cause, if a teen or tween is currently experiencing bouts of depression or anxiety, consistent loss of sleep can make things worse. Also, teenagers suffering from sleep deprivation have a higher chance of displaying more risk-taking behaviors due to issues with impulse control. We are seeing more car accidents, higher use of alcohol and drug use, and a higher suicide rate amongst teens. So why aren't our teens getting the right amount of sleep? Well, we went over a few reasons already, right? Parents opposed to the change couldn't understand why teens can't just go to bed earlier. We know biologically sometimes that could be impossible. Lack of parental involvement is also a factor. Parents need to be more involved in their child's sleep routine and encourage earlier bedtimes. That's not always easy to have that conversation with a teen. Mom of three, I get it. And technology, we know this, plays a nasty part in robbing teens and adults of their sleep. And then trying to keep up with it all. Again, those extracurricular activities, those after-school jobs, social life, all of those things. Getting a decent night of sleep each night can sometimes become absolutely impossible for our teens. So the biggest pushback in my community's online group was in moving these high school times later, are we actually setting up our kids to fail? So first of all, I think we need to cut these kids some slack, okay? I truly don't think that by implementing a small shift, and it would be a small shift in the start time of high school, teens will suddenly not know how to set an alarm clock, right? Or understand the importance of having to wake up early when they start in the working world. I mean, do you remember what your schedule was, your sleeping schedule was when you were a teen? Does it affect what your schedule is now? No, right? So who amongst us was prepared for the real world when we graduated from high school? I sure wasn't. And getting up early or sleeping in a little wasn't going to change that for me, and it's not going to change that for your teens. And here's the thing. I don't want to prepare my children for today's work ethic because let's face it, today's work ethic sucks. We're overworked, overscheduled, and living in a completely sleep-deprived society. So some parents responded to the study saying that because they could handle early mornings, busy days, and late evenings, their teens should be able to as well. So to those of you that think you're handling it, I can guarantee you that most of you aren't, and your body is likely telling you otherwise. So we're not setting up our kids to fail by allowing them to sleep in a few more minutes each morning because they need it. We're in fact setting them up for success. Change needs to happen, and our society at some point needs to make those changes. And if something like this rollout, and it's not happening tomorrow, but if something like this rollout was to ever happen, teaching teens the importance of sleep and proper sleep hygiene should be part of it. This can be part of the change. They need to understand why this is happening, why they're taking those steps, and how it can benefit them and hopefully keep these habits throughout their entire life. We are not spoiling our teens or ruining them for life by offering them a small amount of extra sleep in the morning. Like nutrition and exercise, sleep is a need. And we are living in a world where everyone could use more of it. We can, and our teens can, for sure. So I have a consult today with an adult struggling to sleep better. Maybe if they had learned proper sleep health when they were a teen, they wouldn't be struggling so much with sleep now as they are an adult. So something to give thought to. When it comes down to it, your teenager is really still a child. And as such, it's your job as a parent to recognize the signs that they may not be getting the sleep they need and do what you can to help them get back on the right, well-rested path. So thank you so much for joining me. And I hope that this episode helps your teen sleep better. Information about our teen sleep program and mini course is in the show notes. And I've also included a link to our free 5-day email for you. So once we get our teens sleeping, we need to focus on our own sleep struggle. So this free 5-day course will help you eliminate your 3 a.m. waking and your midlife self to get a good night's sleep. Find out more in the show notes or at thebedtimeedit.com, and I'll talk to you soon.